Hello everyone, this is Ceema. I have a quick question for you. How much money do you make? How much do you earn every month? Now, did you think this question was rude? Did this question make you feel a little awkward? Or maybe you think that I'm plain stupid because I'm asking you a question like that? Well, probably all of the three. Now, when I have to answer a question like that, believe it or not, I pretty much feel the same way. So I'm going to show you what you can say to people who ask you a question like, how much do you make?
Subscribe and press the bell icon to receive notifications. Don't miss any new lessons.
All right, now I've got to tell you that before I come to the sentences, your answers are going to vary depending on who is asking you the question and in what context the question is being asked. Okay, so let's have a look at a few responses that you can probably use to answer a question like this. All right, we've got the first answer that you can give. Now, you can say, I'm not comfortable with sharing that information. Or you could simply say that it is personal or it is private. Now, sometimes, you meet people for the first time, or you've just met them for a couple of times, or maybe you're on your first date. And some people don't have the sense to not ask you a question like that. So when you don't know someone very well, you will use the question. You will say, I am not comfortable with sharing that information. Or you can say simply that it is a very personal question to ask. It is private. Okay, that's what you will say when you meet someone for the first time or someone you don't know really very well. Okay, and you have another answer for a question like this. Now, this is going to be used when you have a coworker. So you're at your job and all of you get paid, right? But you have a coworker who is cheeky enough to ask you a question like that. So when a coworker asks you a question like that, you will just say, the company does not allow us to discuss that. Okay, so now when you tell a coworker this, the coworker knows that he has stepped the line. He's doing something that he's not legally supposed to do. So that is going to kind of make him zip it up, right? So when you say that the company does not allow you to discuss that, you are basically saying that it's not legal for us to discuss information like that. Okay. Now, well, some people don't really get the point, and some people have made you very uncomfortable. Now, it's your turn to make them as uncomfortable as they've made you feel, right? So you're gonna, drop a bomb, okay? You're gonna ask them a question like, why do you want to know? So this can also be used when you have a coworker or, a friend who would ask you a question like that. Okay, so when you ask a question, why do you want to know, you're actually answering a question with another question, right? So when you do that, that kind of puts the person in an uncomfortable situation as well. And then they kind of realize that maybe the question they've asked was not a very clever one, not a very good question to ask. All right, so if you want to make someone as uncomfortable as they make you feel, you might want to ask them, why do you want to know, right? So that's what you can use. Or you can also say, I'm too embarrassed to say. Now, you don't have to always feel awkward. You don't have to always feel offended when someone asks you how much you make. You can simply, put in a bit of humor, right? So if you want to put in a bit of humor, you can say something like, I can't tell, I'm too embarrassed to say. So it kind of gives the idea that you're not earning so much, So you're a little bit embarrassed to actually divulge that kind of information. So that's kind of said in good humor to people who you may know, like maybe a good friend. Or you can again use it for a coworker who is asking you a question like that. Okay. We have another very interesting response you could use. It goes like this. I make enough to support my family. Now, this is something you can use when a relative or a family member would ask you a question like that. You know, I've got very nosy relatives. They want to know everything that I do. They want to know how much I make. They want to know what car I drive. They want to know everything, right? But you don't want to give them that information. You think it's very personal, right? So when you have a relative or a family member who really wants to know that question or wants to know the answer to what you make, you can say something like, I make enough to support my family. That kind of is a very vague answer, but it is an answer telling them that you're taking care of everything with the money you're making. You're taking care of your family, you're taking care of yourself, you're taking care of everything. Okay? A very wise answer and a very vague answer, but enough to make them shut up for some time. Okay? And then we've got another response that you could probably use. Now, this is going to be used when you have someone who is trying to apply for a similar position as you are in. Okay, now, this is a very genuine question. Okay, so when you have a person who is genuine enough to really want to know what you are making without the intention of being nosy or cheeky or, you know, plain stupid, you can say something like this. You can say something like, the typical range for a position similar to mine is around maybe, you know, $40 an hour. Now, I did use this when a colleague of mine who tried to, you know, work in the same department as I was working wanted to know what the pay was like. And I thought it was pretty okay to share the information because she wanted to actually, you know, kind of get into the same job as I was doing. So I thought it would be pretty okay for me to give that information. So when you have someone who is genuinely asking you for that kind of information, I think it is okay to say that the typical range for a position similar to what you're doing could be around 50 or maybe a $60 an hour. Okay, so you are giving them a ballpark figure, but you're not giving them the exact information. And yet you kind of give them information enough for them to, you know, kind of move forward. Okay, so that's what you can use for someone who really wants to know. And then you've got another one. The sentence goes like this. It says, it depends on how much I work. Well, when would you use this? Well, if you are getting paid as per how much you work, you're probably into business. You have a business of your own. You're probably working on contracts. In other words, you're probably a freelancer. Okay, so if I am a freelancing trainer, okay, I get paid depending on how much I work, right? I get paid depending on how many lessons I take. So when you have someone asking you the question, and if you're, a freelancer, someone who does contracts or someone who runs a business, it's very simple for you to say something like, it depends on how much I work. Or you could also say, it depends on how good the business runs or how well the business runs. Okay? And the next answer is going to be a very sarcastic answer because some people really don't get the point. They don't know that you can't really be asking a question like that. It's plain rude. So if you want to get a little sarcastic with them, you can say something like, I make $1 million an hour. Well, that's in their face, isn't it? Because you're being sarcastic. They know that this is not possibly true, but you've got to say that to them anyway because that's going to keep them all shut up for some time at least. Okay? And we have another very interesting answer. This again can be used in good humor. Okay, so if you have a friend of yours or anyone who you don't really want to share the information with, but you don't want to offend them. So you can say something like, well, I live on love and fresh air. We all know that's not true, but that's what you can say to add a bit of humor in order to avoid anyone from getting offended or feeling bad. And the last possible answer you could give is not as much as I think I deserve. Again, this is something used in humor, or this is probably another way of saying that you're not getting paid enough, right? So if someone asks you, how much do you make? And you're not happy with your wage, you're not happy with your salary, you will just say, not as much as I think I deserve. Okay, well, that's it from me on this lesson on how much do you make. If you have better answers than what I've mentioned on the board, please drop in your comments. I'd love to hear from you. I'll be back with some more interesting lessons. Until then, this is me saying take care.